All right, well, hello and welcome to today's webinar. I'm Liz, the partner manager here at Ecom Dash. Before we get started, let's go over the basics. I wanted to let you know that this will be recorded and emailed out today. Also, we'd love to hear from you, so feel free to add some questions to the panel on the right-hand side of your screen labeled questions. We'll address the questions after the presentation. Yeah, so thanks again. Welcome to the webinar, Prepare for the Holidays with these USPS shipping tips. Again, I'm Liz, the partner manager here, and I'd like to introduce our presenter today, Rick Hernandez from Pitney Bowes. Rick Hernandez leads the global alliances for Pitney Bowes Global E-commerce and is one of the principal architects of Pitney Bowes' overall shipping strategies. A graduate of Stanford University, he previously led the research and development, customer service, and business development at Indicia, where he transitioned the business from $10 million startup to a $100 million business. Of course, he held leadership positions in product management, client services for a few successful startups. They've been acquired by SunGard, Travelocity, Infor, Newell, Rubbermaid, and Stamps.com. So, of course, he's been awarded 8 patents and currently serves on a volunteer basis as the chairman of the Planning Commission of Half Moon Bay, which is where he lives with his family. So, great guy. I'm very excited to have him talk to you guys today. So I'll go ahead and pass it over to him.
Excellent. Thank you for the fantastic introduction. So, we wanted to spend a few minutes today talking about holiday readiness. And, as Pitney Bowes, we work with many companies in the retail sector, and we have a lot of experience from talking to those customers and research that we've conducted. So, want to be able to walk you through what we're going to do today. We have some important holiday dates. We want to talk about what you can do to master the post-purchase experience. And we're going to also drill into some of the keys to holiday success. And then, I always, when you run a shipping business on January, we typically say shipping season starts today in the middle of January. And, that's how far in advance many people think about the shipping season for holidays, especially if you have anything that's direct to consumer. So we spend a lot of time thinking about holiday readiness. But the thing that you can be thinking about right now is your returns. And what are you going to be doing for returns come this January, and how are you going to be handling those? And then we have our unofficial holiday checklist as well. So just a few moments to give you the quick commercial on who is Pitney Bowes. We've got a few years of working with the U.S. Postal Service and working in the area of commerce. We process over 15 billion mail pieces and parcels annually. That was last year. This year we're up to we'll be about 17 or 18 billion mail pieces and parcels. We also are responsible for the shipping and tracking for eBay, PayPal, and the U.S. Postal Service. If you go there and you ship something domestically from them, you'd be using Pitney Bowes. We work extensively with platforms like ConnectShip. We also drive cross-border logistics for companies like Harrods, Macy's, and Nordstrom's. And we have shipping solutions for companies like Zulily, Lululemon, and we also run the largest USPS delivery and returns network. So not only do we, create those shipping labels, but we also manage the return and we manage the logistics associated with them. And we've got experience working in over 10,000 retail mail and parcel centers. So Pitney Bowes has been around for a little while. What you may not know in the last few years is we've acquired a few companies like Borderfree and Nugistics. And we've also really been investing in how we can work with the U.S. Postal Service more effectively. And so in that effort, we've really helped many brands and companies be successful. We have over 350 retail clients who use us globally. We have thousands of merchants, individual merchants like yourself, who are using our solution, hundreds of thousands of customers. And we're processing, a fair number of parcels around the world. Companies like Deckers, Rockets of Awesome. If you have kids, you should go check out Rockets of Awesome. It's a great box club. Victoria's Secret, Harrods, Macy's. So lots of companies, both established brands as well as up-and-comers, are using Pitney Bowes services to reach consumers, reach customers in new and innovative ways. And over 90% of the Fortune 500 is using Pitney Bowes in some way or another. So why am I presenting here with Ecom Dash? As some of you already know, the Pitney Bowes shipping account is included as part of your Ecom Dash subscription. And Pitney Bowes allows you to work with the US Postal Service, get rates and services. It simplifies your returns processes with scan-based returns. And we've also made cross-border shipping very simple. So if you have any questions about how to use that, you can contact Ecom Dash today and get started. So some important dates to think about. The first one that's coming up is November 11th, which is an American holiday. Most people aren't spending a lot of time thinking about November 11th, but actually it's Singles Day is what's happening. And so this has actually become the largest single day for e-commerce in the world. And this is driven by customers in China. And it's a fantastic e-commerce event, and the sheer scope and scale of everything that's being sold on that day is phenomenal. And we've seen Singles Day is actually really crept into the US and is becoming a major holiday. So as we get past sort of the Halloween rush, November 11th is an important day. It's also a holiday in the US because it does fall on Veterans Day. So it's something to look out for. You obviously know about Thanksgiving and Black Friday, which is the big US day for placing orders. And it's obviously an important time frame. We have some other holidays that folks have thought to put together, including Small Business Saturday and then Cyber Monday. Cyber Monday is really where people are going out to the stores on the day after Thanksgiving. A lot of shopping is happening on the Monday. Tons of orders are being fulfilled on November 26th. So these are important dates from an e-commerce perspective, and it's also great to make sure that all of your systems are up and running. Hanukkah starts a little early this year, December 2nd. So we're going to have an interesting holiday season because it's going to be spread out over a slightly longer period. And we have quite a bit of holiday windows that we have there. So one of the things we'll look at though is when you look at the holiday dates, one of the important dates is Halloween. It's really where we see a big kickoff for Q4. People are prepping for Halloween. And that means shopping for costumes, decorations, even candy. And Halloween sales are typically a leading indicator of how strong the holiday shipping season is. And that's how Forbes looks at these things. The National Retail Federation reported the Halloween retail spending was $9.1 billion in 2017, with a whopping 179 million people celebrating annually. Forbes also projected that U.S. males spent close to $100 each celebrating in 2017. So it's a fairly it's a holiday that's very popular and it's growing. And if we look at holiday spending, both the planned holiday spend, what people are actually spending year over year, it is something that's growing, and it's measured in billions of dollars. So it's an important place to kick off. So one of the things that you have to think about as a business is, well, when are people actually doing their planning for holiday shipping? And so by early November, most merchants have already processed all their Halloween orders and they're dealing with returns. But when you start looking at how do consumers do their research, right? So before September, we see a big push, and in September, there's a lot of folks who are doing their research. And as you get further along by October, folks have completed most of their holiday research, and really it becomes about purchasing at this point. So the insight here as a business is, if you want people to buy your products, you really need to start those campaigns now. You need to be reaching out to them, getting them on board, getting them excited in September and October, because this is the time frame when people are really doing the research. They're really trying to figure out what are they going to get. And then November and December are really about execution. And the bulk of the activity is going to happen in November and then the first 2 weeks of December. So part of the reason why we're excited to work with Ecom is because of the focus on the consumer experience. And as you know, it's pretty clear consumers are raising the bar on their expectations. Shipping, returns, domestic, cross-border, they're all really important. I mean, a lot of this is driven by Amazon, what we call the Amazon effect, because Amazon set a high bar for everybody. But you know, despite the consumer expectations, more than half of consumers globally experience frustration because of shipping issues, delays, returns, lost items. This is especially true for people who are shipping cross-border. I'll give you an example. Many people use a product called ePacket from China. And you go to some websites and you purchase products direct to consumer, and you think it's going to arrive in a couple of weeks, and it actually takes a couple of months. And so these are not uncommon experiences where you think you've gotten a really good price, you think you found the right gift, and you've got that free shipping, and it turns out the product isn't going to arrive until January, and that's not a great consumer experience. Similarly, folks have, you know, sometimes you get the wrong fit on a product, and returns are an important part of that consumer experience. In the US, about 36% of consumers express that frustration, and that's growing. So it's getting increasingly harder to meet the needs of consumers, and they're getting pickier and pickier because they are being conditioned by marketplaces like Amazon to offer a better and more consistent returns experience. So that post-purchase experience, what happens after you hit the buy button, has become increasingly important. And we have a couple of things that we're working with as businesses. How are we going to address this post-purchase experience? One thing is, well, how do you get inventory closer to the consumer? And the reason why that's important is it's going to help you with the faster and freer service that people are being conditioned to expect. So if you're able to use multiple distribution points, you can use similar type of service. For example, you could use priority mail with the US Postal Service. And if you have 2 locations, your average delivery time is about 2.5 days. And, you know, whereas if you have 1 location, your average delivery time is going to be about 3.5 days. So it's a way to use your existing services if you can position that inventory closer to the consumer. Of course, you have a variety of carriers that you should work from, and this is really important. Is you should really pick the carriers who leverage their strength. You know, Pitney Bowes may be a big USPS partner, but you know what's interesting is we also, as a company, use UPS. You know, we're a big UPS customer. We're a big FedEx customer. We're a big DHL customer. We use those carriers where it makes sense for our business. And you know, it's important for everybody to recognize the strengths and weaknesses of the carrier partners that they work with. And really, you know, what we find is when you're mastering that post-purchase experience is make sure you're communicating to your customers. Make sure you set expectations, you share with them the appropriate data, the tracking information you're getting to them is the correct link, it has good updates, the carriers you're using have that info, because expectations are the key with customers, and making sure that the communications that originate in your system and come out of it match up. I'll give you an example. I was going on a trip, this is pre-holidays. I was going on a trip with my family, and I wanted to get a pair of, I'll say, fancy travel pants that were hack-proof. You couldn't cut them with a razor blade, any of these things. And, you know, I bought into the advertising, watched the video, got the pants, and then realized this tiny little thing off to the side, oh, this order is not going to be fulfilled for another 30 days, and then it's going to take 2 weeks to get to you after that. Well, my trip was going to be over, right? And I'd already hit the purchase button. I'd already made the decision to go through with this and didn't really want to wait. And so I ended up having to go through and just get a refund on it. But that was really not a good experience. And you know, even though this company may have a really great, terrific brand, it's not something I would ever recommend to anybody because of just the really lousy purchasing experience that I had. And so it's an important thing to keep in mind because, you know, one of the biggest things that drives people to purchase from you is how is that sales experience. More than half of the reason why people are going to come back to you is because of the great sales experience that they have. And that's really something you can use as a differentiator as a business. Of course, when they do purchase something, it doesn't work out, you need to make those returns easy. And you also want to make sure that you don't forget about your international customers. They have the same expectations, and frankly, it's even harder to deliver to those folks internationally. So let's talk a little bit about getting inventory closer to the consumer. So Pitney Bowes conducted a study, and what we found is that when it comes to shipping, if consumers have to choose between free and fast, they really want free. Now, this comes with a caveat, is they also want to know when it's going to arrive. So in marketplaces like the United States and the UK and Germany, where you have fairly reliable carrier services, more and more it's people are really interested in free shipping time, and they're willing to take a little bit of a longer delivery window as long as they have a reliable experience. It's really critical. In countries where they don't have reliable delivery networks, where it's unclear that your package is going to get there, and maybe the data is inconsistent, countries like India or Mexico, people really want to make sure the delivery time is shorter, because it also ensures that their package time gets there. But in the US, what we found is, and it's really surprising, despite the Amazon effect of conditioning people to get that 2-day delivery, people are happy with 3, 4, 5-day delivery windows, as long as what you communicate to them is consistent, as long as there's a good user experience. So, and this is, it's not just in the US, this is, again, a global perspective. So when we talk about getting, adding additional nodes to your network, this is pretty obvious, but if you're shipping something, for example, from the Midwest out to California, in order for you to get it to the West Coast in a timely manner, you're either going to have to use, and timely is always something that's defined by an individual user, but if you're going to get it to the West Coast, you're going to want to look at using a 2-day product, and that gets pretty expensive. It's hard to give that fast and freer service if you have to spend a lot more money on an expedited shipment. So what we do is we work with customers to supplement their shipping, so that if you do have a core location you're fulfilling from, such as the Midwest, we can offer a location like Sparks, Indiana. So we can offer supplemental fulfillment for you so that you can send products to your customers and you can get it there a little bit faster. It's just a way of delivering a better consumer experience. And one way to think about this is you don't have to move everything. Just look at your top selling SKUs, the things that are really driving your business. And it's not just that it's going to get there faster, you're actually going to save 15 to 20% on your transportation costs. So in that factors in you doing the, moving, all of your product to a fulfillment center and storing it there, you're still going to save, 15 to 20% all in your transportation costs to a customer. So it's something that's worth looking at, because it also delivers a faster experience, especially for, when we've done this with customers, we've seen a much better and much more consistent delivery experience. And, it's something where we're happy to help with it. You can work with other partners to make that happen, but it's something where it's a great way to supplement what you're doing. The other part about that is when you do add the second delivery facility, you see the delivery time drop by 1.2 days on average. So just, taking from one location to something that's more geographically distributed, it's significant time. And every day that you can add to getting something there faster and doing it at a cheaper price, it's a much better experience for your customers. So let's talk a little bit about whether or not you're set up for multi-carrier success. We conducted a study with a company called Calligraphy, who are really the experts in small parcel in the US market and much of the international space. And, one of the key things to look at is that these multi-carrier strategies can help you be successful in a lot of different ways. They help you reduce your costs, and they help you find carriers who do better service. So when we went to mid-market customers, one of the things we found was, it was shocking actually, 85% of retailers use carrier-provided single carrier shipping systems. So you might use that free software from FedEx or UPS, and it's sitting in your facility, but it's, you know, it's a single carrier system. We also found that not over 90% of retailers that are in this mid-market space, you know, have been using the same parcel shipping system for over 4 years. So they may not have a system. One, it's a single carrier system. Two, it may not be configured to have all the routing and rating rules that really give them the best price and the best service to their customers. It's definitely an area of opportunity to improve. The other thing that we found is that about 40% of parcels are shipped over 40% of parcels are shipped within 350 miles. So you have an opportunity to really get packages to people. This is a sweet spot for the U.S. Postal Service from a rates and transit time perspective, is being able to get those distances that are under 350 miles, because they've got a really easy to use service at a great price. The other thing that I'll mention there is that when we work with customers to put in place multi-carrier shipping systems and really make sure they've got multiple carriers that are configured correctly, we see these types of savings coming in. You know, again, you're shaving a day, 1 to 2 days. You're having a much better consumer experience, and you're able to service your customers more effectively. And you know, you guys know this. Shipping goes to your bottom line, right? Every dollar you save on shipping is a dollar of pure margin. So it's an important part of what you need to do from a business perspective. So 3 keys to getting multi-carrier shipping right. You can't manage without good technology. It has to be seamless. It's got to integrate multiple carriers and integrate into your existing systems. This is why we like Ecom Dash. I think they really help you tick the box from a technology perspective. You also have to understand the carrier strengths and how you can leverage them. Every retailer has a different profile: consumer preferences, locations, size, weight, and shape. You need to make sure that the carriers you're working with are really going to help you, especially if you're going direct to consumer. And then you need to have clear business rules on when you're going to select these carriers. Now, you can do this all yourself, or you can find a partner who can bring all of these to you. So one of the partners that we like to lean into is the U.S. Postal Service. So when you look at direct-to-consumer shipping, which is most of the e-commerce market in the U.S., the U.S. Postal Service is the #1 delivery partner for Amazon, eBay, PayPal, Jane.com, Wish, Top Hatter, Etsy. So they're handling the last mile delivery for all of those customers. Now, they're not doing all of it. For Amazon, it's more than half of all the Postal Service, more than half of all of Amazon's packages are delivered by the U.S. Postal Service. eBay is 90%, PayPal is 90%, Jane.com is up there as well. Same for Wish, Top Hatter, and Etsy. You know, these companies have 80 to 90% of their volume is being delivered by the U.S. Postal Service. And you know, the U.S. Postal Service is often the best when it's direct to consumer. You're going to a household. It's a small parcel under 5 pounds, especially under 16 ounces. The zone-based pricing and ounce-based pricing, the ounce-based pricing for first-class parcel is very good. You're also, when you're shipping small boxes that are heavy. So the Postal Service has a cubic volume program. And for the inner zones, again, under 350 miles, where it doesn't have to get on a plane, it's a great opportunity to use the Postal Service because you can go up to 20 pounds, and it's very cost effective. It's based on it. So if it's small and heavy and it fits through the parcel sorters that the U.S. Postal Service has, they have a distinct cost advantage to deliver the product. Similarly, I think when you look at places where UPS and FedEx have surcharges, if you're going to some place where there's a rural address or an extended delivery charge, you know, fuel surcharges, UPS and FedEx really tack these on. So it may feel, you may have been told you're getting a 70% discount or an 80% discount, but you have to pay a minimum to use those services, and then you have all of these additional surcharges tacked on. So it's important to look at those surcharges when you're picking your carriers. And I just went to a very large shipper who's moving about 20,000 packages a day, and we, as sophisticated as they are, we sat down with them and showed them some of the ways in which these fuel surcharges and other surcharges get tacked onto their bill. And they realized that, even though they have all this spend, priority mail was a much better solution for them for many of their packages. And so now they've started moving that volume over to priority mail. Now, merchants who ship with the U.S. Postal Service are typically going to save when compared to UPS Ground or FedEx Ground. The Postal Service's commercial discounts are competitive with both of those carriers. Priority mail, on average, is a half day faster than UPS and FedEx Ground services. And as we said, there are no hidden surcharges. What you see is what you get. Priority mail and first class parcel, first class package service, both have free returns. So you're not going to get dinged in the 5 to 8% of customers who want to be able to return their product because they're not there, they're not available, maybe it's a missed delivery. All those things are going to come back to you. So merchants really need to leverage the Postal Service because, you've got more delivery options, you've got discounted pricing, the tracking is very solid, and it delivers to more addresses. When you use priority mail, you also get free packaging. That's a 1 to 3 day service. The first class package service is 2 to 5 day service, and then you also have international products, which are 3 to 7 day global service. So let's talk about communication to your customers. When you buy something, this was shocking to me when I saw this. Again, we conducted another study. We were looking at how often are people looking at tracking requests. On average, you're seeing 8 tracking requests for every parcel that's shipped. Now, this is the black hole, right? So 92% of retailers provide transit triggers on delivery, and only 7% of retailers provide transit triggers on returns. So what this means is when things are coming back, most retailers don't have good visibility on what's happening, and they don't give you good feedback when a product is returned. So retailers, you guys have figured this out on the front end. On the back end, it's still an area of improvement. The other thing I'll mention is when we go back to these 8 tracking requests, what's really shocking is the profile of people who use them. I don't believe I go for 8 tracking requests on every package I go for. I know there are certain high value things where I'm definitely trying to keep an eye on it, or a special present for birthday, but they're different user profiles. And what's astonishing is there's about a 20% segment of consumers who every time they buy something, they're hitting those tracking URLs. They want to know where their product is, when it's going to arrive, when it's going to be there. And they're very sensitive to whether or not it arrives on time. And so these are customers that, when you have a good tracking experience, one, it helps them feel more comfortable with where you're at, and these push notifications are a great thing to have. But when they send returns, they're also equally concerned about making sure the return was processed, right? So again, you've got a nice segment of users, power buyers, who really want to know, not only did I get my package, did I get timely delivery information, but are my returns working as well? So obviously, post-purchase communication is getting harder because you've got to provide it through a lot of channels. Mobile first is the big one now. The majority of tracking happens on mobile today. Even if you're browsing and buying doesn't, from our survey, it's the most important way to track a package. In my personal experience, I will use my phone to track much more than I use my computer because my phone's always with me and I'm almost always traveling. So it's an easy way to figure out where my product is. push and pull. So it's available to easily find lots of places. You need to make sure the tracking works everywhere and at the appropriate times. So if people are checking 8 times on average, you need to be conditioned to understand that, that there may not be too much when it comes to tracking. And new info, right? So when something changes, the package is delayed, there's a problem, if it's not going to arrive when you want it to, you want to be able to communicate that to your customers accurately. And I think it's an important thing. And we see that, again, these expectations are growing more and more. And the benefit of these timely communications is 2 things. One, it keeps them out of customer support, right? I was speaking to a user experience fellow who works over in a major marketplace, and he talks about this concept of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And the idea behind this is, your first need is survival, right? It's like, do I have enough food and water and so forth to survive? And as you progress, you're looking for fulfillment, and you're looking for love. You're looking for these additional experiences. And iconic brands try to build that experience of love and just feel like, hey, I bought this product, I've had a really great experience. I bought a sweatshirt from American Giant. It was delivered to me with a Pitney Bowes shipping label through our logistics service, and it came exactly when I wanted it to. I had a very positive experience. I'm wearing it right now. I had that love, right? Whereas I bought a coffee machine, frother, and the thing didn't arrive on time, right? And I had a bunch of people coming over for a party, and my old one broke, and I was gonna make coffee for everybody because we're having brunch, and I didn't know when this is coming. And so now my love, the positive energy that I have starts to become anxiety. Is this thing coming? And so you go from having somebody who's having a really positive experience. I know when my thing's going to arrive. I want to talk about my American Giant hoodie and how much I love it. And this frother that didn't arrive on time, I'm going to do nothing but complain about it, because even if I'm not returning the product, like, I'm going to find ways to nitpick this. I'm going to find ways to not love this brand because I wasn't communicated to, and instead of having a positive feeling, I've got that sense of anxiety about when this was arriving. So it's really important, and brands take this seriously, right? The major brands take this seriously, and you guys should too. Is make sure you manage that experience and set the right experience, but right expectation, and work with carrier partners that are going to deliver on that expectation. Now, if something doesn't work out, you want to make the returns easy, right? I know when I buy my American Giant hoodie, there is a logistics return label in that box. Similarly, you can have a pay on use scan label in that box. So it's a dead simple returns experience. Now, some interesting things, right? If you want a customer to come back to you, you got to make returns easy. Yeah, you might find that you're saving money in the short term, but 46% of US consumers have kept an unwanted purchase item because the returns process was inconvenient. And almost 40% of shoppers are not satisfied with the returns experience. The problem with this is that these are your return customers, right? The people who are going to return a product to you, similarly to the buying experience, like returns is actually part of the buying experience, and it's part of what's going to make them want to come back to you and recommend you. And today 2/3 of customers they review the purchasing policy, the returns policy before purchasing, and many retailers don't have a complete returns policy on their website. Shoppers do believe that free return shipping is key to a great returns experience, but only 1/3 of retailers offer free return shipping. 70% of shoppers are likely to buy again if the refund is issued within 24 hours, so that when you return that product and you've given it to the UPS store or taken it to the postal service, and that first tracking scan comes in, and within a few minutes or a few hours you're getting your refund issue, that's a very positive buying experience. It says, this brand, this retailer has my back. They're not playing games with my money. They want me to come back and shop with them. Challenge is that Many retailers don't refund for more than 7 days. So there's tremendous areas and opportunities for improvement here in the consumer experience. And so it's something for you to think about. Now, 53% of consumers don't return. Sorry, I just dropped my coffee cup. 53% of consumers don't return because it's inconvenient. At Pitney Bowes and Logistics, we make this process as painless as possible. You know, your first thing you want to do is make sure your policies are clear, they're on the website, make that return label easy to find, and use data to accelerate the refunds. So you can capture scan events. Has it been received by the Postal Service? Has it been received by the carrier? Has it been received in a facility? Whatever you need to do to drive that workflow, we're all concerned about fraud and people ripping us off, so you do have to have the right controls in place as a consumer. But if you have a frequent shopper on your system, then you want to make sure that you provide that real positive returns experience. And refunds is an important part of that. Now, cross-border is the new imperative. 93% of retailers globally are already operating or planning to grow cross-border. So about 60% are already, running cross-border operations. 30% plan to go cross-border in the next 12 months. There's some who just, it's not going to happen. So what is cross-border, right? So we often think it's just logistics. Our response is, well, that's the easy part. Let's talk about the real challenges. First one is fraud. If you think domestic fraud is a problem, wait till you start getting orders from Russia or China. Do you know what a good order is? Do you have tools that are able to help you figure this out? 20% of your orders will get rejected if you're using some of these common tools, right? So on the one hand, you're trying to screen things out, but if you use traditional fraud mitigation tools, you're going to lose a lot of customers. There are credit cards, forms of payment that you can't take, and how you handle that whole post-purchase consumer care. These are things that affect the customer. So we've done some things. We run eBay's cross-border business with their global shipping program. We also run cross-border business for Harrods and Macy's and other companies, as I mentioned before. And we found that we're able to take, as we send products out, we're able to take the data. We use machine-based learning to help you figure out, well, what are the packages that need to be screened? What are the ones that are going to have problems, either leaving the U.S. because they weren't declared correctly, or ones that need to be reclassified in a way so that when they arrive in country, in Germany, in Hong Kong, in China, they have the correct classification, the correct duties and taxes have been paid. These are things that are important, and you have to make sure you manage those. You also have to make sure that you manage, provide the right payment methods for customers in country. So global consumers have similar expectations, and they're not really likely to forgive distance as an excuse for a subpar experience. So if you're going to go cross-border, you really got to step up your game. Shipping cost is a big challenge, and the whole world's going faster and freer. And frankly, if you have a slow delivery, if it takes too long, I'm going to lose interest in that. About having that 2-month delivery from the marketplace, because they're using ePacket, that cheap and easy product from China to the U.S., I'm not going to buy that. Not for anything that really matters. And so more and more people want to have a predictable, reliable, quality product. So when we look at the top 5 frustrations of cross-border customers, number 1 is high shipping cost. Number 2 is slow delivery. And then, you start to see high prices are part of that. Conversely, in the U.S., when you're just buying within the U.S., U.S. to U.S., high shipping cost, slower delivery, inconvenient returns, they're a little lower. They're still important, but they're a little lower compared to product quality and the cost of the price. So Holiday season is time to boost those keyword campaigns. You need to optimize your site. You need to streamline your order process. Make sure your search functionality is fine-tuned. You need to make it as easy as possible for customers to find your order, find your product, find your website, order it, and return items. You need to, create promotions that draw your visitors' eyes, especially to the items you want to promote. You really got to, everybody's competing for eyeballs. I think you guys know that. We've got 224 million smartphone device owners in the US. I don't know who those 80 million are who don't have a smartphone, because even like my kids have smartphones now. It's everybody's, almost everybody has a smartphone, and it's growing more and more. Now is the time to use that customer data you've been capturing all year. So use your targeted emails, use your text messaging, use the in-display advertising techniques that you've invested in. This is the window, right? Between now and October, this is the big research time that people are looking at. Now, customers want their orders as fast as possible, even if delivery is free. If you can get them that to your customer in 2 to 3 days, you'll be meeting their expectations. You can also offer them the opportunity to have same-day delivery and charge them a little bit more. When you still give them that 2 to 3 day free shipping, they're going to be happier with that solution if you did give them the option to upgrade the service. You should also consider finding a carrier that will guarantee the delivery dates and their times. One of the things that Pitney Bowes is doing with the U.S. Postal Service is we're offering a 3-day delivery guarantee for all priority mail parcels that go through us. So if we help you get set up, we're going to guarantee that it'll be delivered on the time frame, on the delivery window that's on that shipping label. And it's pretty exciting stuff. It's a great way to deliver a customer experience. And maybe you can give, hey, sorry, the shipping wasn't on time. I'm going to refund that to you. Or maybe you just offer free shipping and know that for some of those packages that aren't delivered, we'll refund you when the Postal Service doesn't deliver on time. You should also take a look at the value of insurance. Parcel insurance is an underrated thing. You can sell it directly to your customers. You can allow them to make sure they sign up for damage protection. You can also sell subscription-based services. So we see a lot of success with companies who are doing the month-to-month box clubs, and if you're not doing that right now, it's something I'd encourage you to take a look at. And we have some very compelling use cases. We've worked with companies like Harry's Razors, Dollar Shave Club, Billy, Quip, the toothbrush company. So and Rockets of Awesome, which I'm going to give another commercial for. If you've got young children, take a look at Rockets of Awesome. We also, the other thing to look at are what are financing and capital solutions? What can you do to free up cash flow? Are there payment solutions you can leverage to maybe you want to get payment terms for your shipping so that you can use credit card and other lines of credit for other things within your business. These are things to look at. So key takeaways, make sure you understand how the holiday calendar is going to affect your orders and shipments. I think you need to make your marketing programs. And remember, when it comes to those time frames, people are doing their research now. So make sure your content's up to date and out there. And make sure you've got your return strategy defined. Put it on your website. With the Ecom Dash system today, we have a pay-on-use pay-on-use returns solution in place. So you can print labels, you can put them in the box, and you don't pay for them until they're actually scanned by the U.S. Postal Service. If you're not using U.S. Postal Service in your shipping mix today, you should look at adding them in. And, make sure you have enough capital. Make sure you got the right people who are going to be there. Make sure you got enough money to cover things and you've financed things the right way. So that's really it. So I want to thank you all for participating in the webinar. I don't see any questions out there. So if you do have a question, feel free to post it. Otherwise, I think I'm going to go ahead and turn it back over to Liz.
All right, thanks, Rick. That was awesome. That was great information. I appreciate you sharing that with our audience. Again, I don't see any questions as well, so I do want to thank everyone for participating today. We appreciate you being here, Rick, and sharing all that great knowledge for the shipping and USPS tips for the holidays. We will be sending out the recorded version today, and also posting it on our YouTube channel, and it will be available on demand. So thanks again, and see you next time.